Hello everyone, today I want to show you the native plants that I sowed in the fall and how I did that, and also recently the annuals and vegetables that I am winter sowing using Trudi Davidoff's milk jug winter sowing method. Okay, so I like to sow my native plants in the fall between mid-November and the end of November. When I do that, I know that no matter the amount of cold stratification that native plant seed needs, be it 10 days to 120 days, it'll be covered if I do it in November. Additionally, I like to sow my seeds in these deep cell plug flats. Now, they are plastic. I don't like plastic. I bought them in bulk and I've had them for about 5 years, but they're all falling apart. So I really want to try and find another way where I can sow a lot of my natives in large quantity, but also having the deep cell, because with native plants, they're probably going to stay in these flats longer than your annual flowers and your vegetables. So you want to have space for those roots to grow down and stay healthy until you get them out of these flats. If I'm wanting to sow a smaller quantity of other native perennials, I'll just use, you know, whatever leftover solo cups, yogurt cups, sour cream cups, whatever I have. So for instance, this right here, when I first moved here and I first started growing, I bought 300 of these little 3-inch pots, and they're still kicking, they're doing well. I reuse them. I only throw them out if they start breaking down. I probably won't be buying 300 more plastic pots again. I'll be reusing and all that kind of stuff, but these are still around. So this, for instance, is Rattlesnake Master. And then over here you'll see I've used coffee containers. I drilled holes in the bottom. I am not sure what this is because I didn't label it. Just anything that you can recycle. I will tell you all of the native plants that I sowed in this way, but I want to show you some other things before I go back inside. A lot of you have been asking me to start showing the progress of my seedlings more, and so I showed you some of the winter sowing progress, but here's some progress on the lupin. I sowed this lupin in November and it has already sprouted. I don't know when that happened. I just know that it happened before that big snowstorm that we had recently. Here's the lupin, and then back there is some native euphorbia. Okay, so next up we have winter sowing using Trudi Davidoff's method of sowing in milk jugs. So I'll show you an example. There's tons of YouTube videos about how to do this. So lots and lots of information on the internet, but you basically take a milk jug, you cut around it, leaving this handle intact. You drill, well, before that you want to drill a couple holes in the bottom or use a knife, get something in there so you have drainage. You can throw away the top. You need to fill up with soil up to about here, so you want at least 3 to 4 inches of soil. You tape it all up, you put it out here in the winter. I like to do this starting in January. Then you let Mother Nature take its course and they will start. This will give your plants an early start. They won't need hardening off. You can plant them in clumps if you've seeded them heavily. So just a really cool way to grow plants. I have 26 milk jugs out here of annual flowers and vegetables. Almost everything here is going to go in the cutting garden, so it's either like a pollinator plant or a vegetable. I have a couple exceptions where I did buffalo clover for my bee lawn. I've also done the native Prunella vulgaris subspecies lanceolata. That's the heel-all, but the one that's native to North America. That is for my bee lawn. And then the only other thing that I am going to winter sow using this method that's not an annual flower or a vegetable or one of the others that are going out to my bee lawn is whitewood aster. I went out and collected a bunch of seeds today, set them aside, and I am going to do this method on the whitewood aster. I have had absolutely terrible results trying to grow whitewood aster from seed. I don't know why. This morning I just so happened to catch a video about sowing whitewood aster, and I actually saw that the whitewood aster had sprouted, and they did the milk jug method. So that's what I'm going to do with some whitewood aster, because I can't seem to get it using the typical way that I sow native plant seeds in fall in November. These are cold hardy plants for my medicinal botanical herb garden. So in there I have wild lettuce, stinging nettles, lamb's quarter, and then this right here is a whole flat of more of the Prunella vulgaris subspecies lanceolata. This is a long list of the annual flowers and vegetables that I am winter sowing. I'll just go ahead and name them all. I may choose to just put them up on the screen as well. But in those 26 or so milk jugs are straw flower, California poppies, blue sage, parsley, leafy Diana dill, spearmint, American Legion poppy, common thyme, marigold, tangerine and lemon, poppies, champagne bubbles, alyssum, chamomile, crimson clover, magic carpet thyme, rudbeckia, oh, that's a native, scabiosa, scarlet sage, nigella, calendula, hollyhock, buffalo clover, that's the native I talked about too. Now I'm going to take you over to another way that I winter sow these types of plants, but using a different container. Here you will see I have 2 storage containers, and what I did is I drilled air holes on the top, and on the bottom there are a lot of drainage holes. But in here you'll see I have Monarda punctata, Mizuna, Kamatazuna, Swiss chard, bright lights, and endive, and it looks like those Asian greens have started to sprout. In this bin, I have more buffalo clover, black Simpson leaf lettuce, red oak leaf lettuce, romaine freckles, and Utah celery. And so far it looks like we have some black Simpson lettuce sprouting. Another way I grow native plants is to propagate in the fall. I will take cuttings, things like that, root cuttings, stem cuttings, all those kinds of things, pot them up, cross my fingers, and hope to see life in the spring. And let me show you some of those that I did. These are the sneezeweed cuttings. Over here in these pots, I have Dorfothergia, I have bush honeysuckle, and what else do I have? Oh, I have coral honeysuckle, and then the John Clayton coral honeysuckle, which is the yellow version. And I forgot to mention, this is Pearly Everlasting. This is a 2nd year flat of switchgrass that's going to go to my one of my best friends. And that's actually the Dorfothergia cuttings right there. Yeah, and anything else in here might have been just native plants that I got on clearance. Okay guys, we are back inside. I wanted to run through the native plants that I sowed in the fall in those deep cell plug flats, just so that you know what I was doing. Before I get going any further, if this is information that you find useful or you enjoy watching, please subscribe, like, click the bell, share with your friends, all those things. and I would greatly appreciate it. The native plants that I sowed in November, I wanted to go through and show you the list of those plants. And so first up we have Prairie Cinquefoil. This is a beautiful little white plant. I don't know if you can hear that, but my dog is dreaming in the background and she's making some noises. The next one that I sowed is Monarda punctata, or spotted bee balm. I'm putting this one in the hummingbird garden. It actually likes sandy soil. I don't have sandy soil, I have clay soil, but I'm gonna give it a try anyway. Maybe it won't be as enthusiastic in the area, which is fine because it's not the biggest area in the world, but I definitely have wanted this plant in my life. Okay, next up is a really cool plant, little sweet plant called Venus's Looking Glass. And this plant, I never heard of it before, and maybe I'll link to this video at the end. We went on a nature hike with my very, very close friends down in southeastern Virginia, and we saw this plant growing wild. We got the ID, and so I looked for seeds, and Prairie Moon had them, so I got some. So hopefully we get some of those going this year. And then let's see, next up is Hoary Skullcap. Hoary Skullcap is a native perennial that I have grown for a few years. I have a really nice stand of it over on the side in my woodland. It likes a little bit more on the shadier side. It's a really, really beautiful plant, but I want to get more into my more visible garden beds because it really is a showstopper, and it has like the ability to be in partial shade and dry conditions, which definitely makes that a winner for me. Oh, and something to notice. These little flowers here, I think the name skullcap comes because these almost look like little skulls in the winter after they dry out. But don't quote me on that. Next up is New Jersey tea. I might put a couple of these in my vegetable and cutting garden so that the deer stay off of them and I can grow them to a nice size. I'm thinking I might put them in the 2 triangle corner beds in that area. So I'm really looking forward to getting some more New Jersey tea. I have some on my deck that I grow and really love them there, but I'm thinking if I get them in that cutting garden, I can enjoy them even more. Next up is a blue stem goldenrod. I really love blue stem goldenrod. It doesn't like self-seed as much as I want it to. Like I want it to be everywhere in the fall. But this is another really good part shade plant that grows in dry soil. So if you have that area like I do, this is a good one to grow. Blue stemmed goldenrod. Then here we have purple prairie clover. This actually is not native to where I live in Virginia. If I scroll down here, I'll show you on the range map. You see that there isn't the green there. That means that it's not native to where I am, but I really love clovers of all sorts. So I just kind of wanted to pop that around. And then we have tall bellflower. I love the blooms of the tall bellflower. They are spectacular. The bumblebees love it. This is a plant that can go in part shade as well. I haven't found the secret sauce to getting this plant to thrive yet, so hopefully this is the year. And then we have Euphorbia correlata. I do not have a lot of experience with this plant. I grew it for the first time last year to go to my friend Rachel's garden down in West Point, Virginia. And I saved a few for myself, and so they're just baby plants, and so they're gonna have to mature so I can see how well they do in my environment, but I thought it looked like a really pretty whimsical plant to add to my native beds. Next up is Loopin. Oh my gosh, who doesn't love Loopin? Seriously, so beautiful. I decided that I wanted to grow this for the first time this year. I tried to grow the yellow in my cutting garden and it didn't do too well, but yeah, so these are, like I showed you outside, these are actually have already sprouted. They only need 10-day cold moist stratification. We did have some warm weather and some really cold weather, so maybe that sparked them to germinate. Hopefully any of our continuing frost doesn't kill them. We'll see, but just a very beautiful plant, native plant. I love grasses and sedges, and a friend of mine, Melissa, had turned me onto this one. This is James's sedge. I like to take sedges and pop them into bare spots that I see in the woodland and in the garden beds, and I also like to use sedges to line garden beds to give them a little bit more of a formal look. And then we have tall thimbleweed. So this is supposed to like a dry shade area. I have it in 2 dry shade areas and it hasn't really taken off. I'm not sure why. I'm gonna try again in a couple other areas in my gardens, because it is supposed to be very enthusiastic. So we'll see what happens, but I wanted to try and just jam it in to some of my native garden beds and see if it'll just totally take off. And then last, Pearly Everlasting. Look how beautiful those blooms are. That looks like a cutting flower, right? That you would find in a bouquet. So the Pearly Everlasting and the Lady's Tobacco, those are both the host plant for the American Lady Butterfly. And I want as many American Lady Butterflies in my yard as I can possibly get. So I wanted to plant some more of those. I did the Lady's Tobacco last year and planted those out. And just so you know, if you're new to gardening for the wildlife, on plants like this, if you see leaves start to curl around and make like a tube, don't think that there's anything necessarily wrong with your leaves. That might be a caterpillar in there making a little home for itself, and then it will emerge and eat the leaves, which you want it to do. So just a note on that. Again, if this is content that appeals to you, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel and like the video. I will put up my last video on the screen in case you missed it, and also I will put up the video where I found the Venus's looking glass. That was a nature hike that I did with my friends. Maybe you'll find those interesting. Anyway, thank you so much for taking your time to be here with me today. Happy gardening, and I will catch you again next time.